Hey everyone, Melissa Navia here, and you are watching TrekCulture.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Tom. Hello, Ellie. How are we all?
I'm glad Star Trek's back.
I didn't know where that sentence was going. I was like, I'm glad that's finished. I'm like, oh my God.
Never make me watch that again.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Good. That's thrown me. Right. Okay. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on the episode. Shit. Yeah, we're gonna really quickly for people who are going, why are the three of you on a video right now? Where are the ups and downs? Are they edited? Are you delaying it again, Tom, with your madness? Your madness, I say. We're trying something new this season, which is a really in the moment reaction video to the episode. Obviously, I suppose in the interest of transparency, yes, 2 episodes have just dropped. So we're talking about Hegemony Part 2 right now. But don't forget to join us again for Wedding Bell Blues, which I will say no more about in this recording. Because under pain of Ellie going, thank God that's over. So, Tom, who I completely spoke over there a second ago, Tom, what are your top line thoughts on this episode? Hi, Tom.
Hello. Well, I don't know if you mentioned it just now or not, but we should say off the bat, major spoilers for
Oh my
these
God,
two
yeah.
episodes. Yeah, we are discussing them. It's not going to be a full length discussion, but it's our top line thoughts, which will include spoilers. So if you haven't watched them, go away, watch them, come back.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
top line thoughts for this episode. It is the second part of the two-parter, leaving us off from the last season. It is full of Gorn. It is full of body horror. It's kind of what you expect in a Gorn episode. It was enjoyable. It was my. It's hard to explain, but I basically was similar with the next episode as well. Constantly on a roller coaster of, oh, I like that, I'm not sure about that. I like that, I'm not sure about that. And I was kind of like that the whole time. Overall, there's a lot to enjoy in this episode. There was a few things of just question marks, but vaguely speaking, I had a good time.
Okay, I think that's fair. We'll get into the specifics in a moment. Ellie, what's your top line thoughts?
Yeah, I think mine are kind of similar. I think obviously the dangers of having a part 2 so far away from a part 1 is that you've kind of really got to remember what happened before. And even if you don't really remember or haven't rewatched, you then kind of watching it going, is this similar to what happened before? It's just, part 2s are always going to have that kind of element to them. But I similarly had moments where I was like, oh, okay, things are getting intense here and things are... I would say... I'll get into it deeper in a second, but there was something about when we've spoken about the trailer for this season and how the inclusion of certain things in the trailer for the season kind of ruined the intensity for me a little bit in this episode, because I knew that certain aspects that could have been really like, oh my God, what's going to happen, weren't as intense as they could have been, because I'm like, oh, well, I know it's all going to be fine by the end because I've seen the trailer and they're in the episode in three episodes time. So I think for me, there was that a part of the enjoyment was removed slightly in the fact that I kind of knew everyone was going to be fine, as opposed to if they'd left things a little bit more ambiguous. But overall, it was just great to have some Star Trek to watch, and it was straight back into the action, which I like. And I think Pike in particular had some really great moments that showcase kind of the stress levels that a captain is under in those moments, which I think was really, really great. And Anson Mount did a really good job performing those scenes.
For sure. I suppose in the spirit of, what the F just happened is, have they put a ticking clock on Marie Battelle? Because I think that's one of the things from the trailers. We saw Melanie Scrofano in the trailer, obviously doing stuff for this season. And as the episode starts, she's very infected by Gorn. We've seen what happens before, Justice for Hemmer. And but by the end of the episode, it's not quite as happy days, everybody's saved, which I liked, because I just sort of went in assuming it was going to be like, oh, we beamed them out, she's fine. So I liked that sort of subversion of expectations. Because obviously you have with the other characters, you're like, let's be real. We know Sam Kirk's going to be okay because he has to go to a certain planet with some flying vomit later on.
I think that's the thing for me. Obviously, you can't have a trailer for your season and miss half of your main players in it. I do get that, but I also feel like the characters that you knew got abducted at the end of the episode, the previous episode, who you don't see in the original series and beyond, it could have actually been really, really interesting if, for example, Ortegas. In this episode, Ortegas' fate is up in the air for a while. If they had just omitted her from the trailers, you really wouldn't have known what was going to happen, because you don't know, you don't see her in future/past seasons, like shows of Star Trek, so you don't know what her future holds. And by removing her from the trailers, you leave her fate up in the air. And then when you see things happen to her, like a Gorn stabbing her in the middle, you're like, hang on a second, are we about to lose Ortegas? And that could have been really intense, but because we've seen her in the trailer for episodes to come, you're like, well, oh, okay, so she's fine.
Yeah. Like that Gorn is not kidding around. That was okay. It's Tom. It's like you said as well. It's like, so we're going body horror. All right then.
Yeah.
And she has an episode of it. Like a kind of, we just, shameless plug, I know, but we just had an interview with Melissa on the channel, and she's going to be like, how's your hand? Okay, like, is everything all right there? What did you both think of Spock and Chapel and how they sort of addressed that in this episode?
Like we said, it's been so long since season 2. I kind of forgot how it was left off last season. I could have, done my research and watched some of the last season beforehand, but I didn't. So I kind of was like, wait, what's happening with these people again? There was a bit of they do a lot in Star Trek, they do a lot in lots of TV and film, where it's like there's something really important going on and stressful, so they're going to talk about their relationship now. Which is always a bit like,
not the time.
Yeah, okay, but what are you going to do? Save it for a quieter moment later where you could just get it out of the way and make that scene more interesting with emotional dialogue?
See, that's what I got. I felt it wasn't belabored.
Yeah, it wasn't the kind of thing where it's like, you really should be talking about this another time,
right?
But it was like, I get what you're doing in terms of structuring a TV show. I don't know. Another thing, this is the kind of stuff we're going to talk a lot about with Strange New Worlds, is I struggle to care too much about their relationship, because I know if we're staying with what the original series is, in the future, Spock is not going to care very much about Chapel, and Chapel was going to pine after him the entire time. So with all the different stuff they're going to do with their relationship, I'm like, well, if that's where it's leading, should I really care about their relationship now?
See, what I find that I'm not really liking so much about this is, I don't know that I like seeing Spock as this, like, hopeless romantic. He's supposed to be a Vulcan who, if you compare it to the Spock of the original series, who showed very little emotion whatsoever, I understand that you've got to kind of expand the characters for new shows, and I do like that they explored that relationship. But I'm not sure that I'm a big fan of this kind of pining after someone's Spock, who isn't taking no for an answer, and almost swapping that around. So whereas in the original series it's Chapel pining after Spock, you've almost got the turn of the tables here, where Spock is pining after Chapel, but it doesn't feel like it fits the character of Spock to be doing that.
I agree with you. I think I can, on the one hand, I see it's a very deliberate inversion of that original series dynamic, which I don't hate. I think my question is going to be, is it any of it necessary? Because I really like Chapel in seasons 1 and 2. I love what they're doing with the character. I love Jess Bush as Chapel. And I think in any medium, in any story, when you sort of go down the romance subplot, I just don't want characters to get sort of pigeonholed into that. Now, it's episode 1, so, like, they might take it in a different direction altogether, which I'm fine with. And yet, as Tom says, if we're going to stick with canon, they kind of are going to have to take it in a different direction and maybe land back in a certain place. But funnily enough, I love that we're all like, it's kind of not too bad in this episode, and yet, no, it's annoying. Stop it. But yeah, I'm kind of jury's out, remains to be seen. Ellie, I think that's a great point about I don't need a lovesick puppy version of Spock.
No, I just don't. I understand that it's, maybe give Spock more to do than what perhaps the original series did in terms of emotion. But I just feel like we're stepping a bit too far away from what is fundamentally the character of Spock at this point, because this pining after someone just doesn't feel like his character. So I feel like he would look at it much more logically, even if he did still want to be with her. I mean, as you say, it remains to be seen where this is going to necessarily go, but I did find myself going, oh, Spock, come on. Leave it now. She said no. Just accept it and leave it now. She's taking some time for herself.
One of the things I enjoyed the most in this episode is Pelia and Scotty.
Yes.
I thought Carol Kane and Martin Quinn give me a season of the two of them trying to make machines work, and you will get all of the ups from me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that dynamic. I love the dynamic in as much as there's like obviously a hierarchy, but there's that teasing. I think it worked really, really well. I'm excited to see more of that dynamic grow. I just think it's really interesting seeing Scotty, the younger version of Scotty. I feel like of all the characters that we're seeing younger versions of, he's the one that I'm kind of gravitating towards. I'm just intrigued to find out how we go from this to what we then see in the original series and see how he grows.
Tom, as the man who looks the most Scottish of the three of us here, don't really know where that was going. I just wanted to get that
You
in
just
there.
wanted
Really,
to say that, didn't you?
yeah.
Yeah. No, I like him too. I have said previously that he's what I was looking forward to the most in this season, and he does a really good job. Like with most of the people in this show, they do a good job at making the character their own, rather than just doing an impression of that character. And also, yeah, the stuff with those two together works well because she kind of hints towards what he is like in future / past episodes of Star Trek, where it's like he is a person who works under pressure. Everything has got to be, can he do that, Captain? Blah 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 blah. And this is her. She literally teases him, runs in saying they're all going to die, just so he would fix the thing. And it's such a good way of being like, I know how you work, and this is how I've got to get you to perform.
I also think that Pelia is a better character to have another character to bounce off of. I'm really enjoying Carol Kane's performance when she's got that they've got that bouncing off of each other, as opposed to just being the character on her own. I think Carol Kane's really good at doing those comedy moments, but I think what really is her strength is bouncing off another actor, comedic actor, to kind of make that scene really, really like blossom. So I think that's really good because, I think Pelia is such an interesting character, but I was a little bit wondering like where they're going to go with her, like what they're going to do, and especially now that Scotty's arrived. But I'm really glad they've paired them together rather than Scotty arriving and kind of pushing Pelia aside.
Yeah,
because I was maybe concerned that was going to happen. Sorry to talk about Doctor Who for a second, but similar with Doctor Who, we had Mrs. Flood, then we have another Rani, and then suddenly Mrs. Flood's not important anymore. So I kind of didn't want Scotty to arrive, then Pelia to kind of be sidelined because now we've got Scotty here. I'm glad that we've got them together.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree. Yeah,
I love her in The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, where she's a very similar character, and I think, again, like what you're saying in that show, which now works really well in this show, is that she plays off people really well, and she always plays this sort of ethereal, strange character, but when that kind of character is by themselves, it's almost like they just pop up every once in a while, and they're like wibbly woo, something strange, goodbye.
Especially as an engineer who's like got a lot of responsibility on the ship, when she's like that, I almost feel, is she the best person to be put in charge of making this work? Because I feel like she could be real clumsy. She's a little bit too bubbly and bouncy to be the person in charge of making sure the ship doesn't fall apart.
Yeah. So I just want to quickly talk about some of the stuff I really liked and some of the stuff I was confused by. So the stuff I really like in this episode is lots of practical effects and lots of physical objects. So something I was always a bit miffy about when it came to like Discovery is the overuse of holographic interfaces and those kind of things. I've got a big bugbear when it comes to that. And the medical device that they're using in this to try and sort out the baby Gorn, I like there's just a big like white medical thing, and like seeing characters physically hold things really works for me, and also helps ground it in that original series Star Trek vibe, like having physical objects to play with. I also really like the practical effects that they're continuing to use with the Gorn, and it kind of, there's some shots in this episode where the Gorn look a little bit silly, but
yes,
I'd prefer that than just a CGI Gorn.
Yes,
it's still way more interesting. Also,
looking at you, Enterprise.
Yeah, the Gorn are silly. Like at one point when they had the fight with the Gorn, when it put its hand into Ortega's stomach, I kind of thought, are we going to get like a TOS fight where Kirk is going to two-hand the Gorn in the head? Like, are we going to get that sort of thing? Like, the Gorn is silly, so having it sometimes come across a bit weird, I think is fine.
There was one shot, I was saying to Sean before we started recording, there was one shot of the Gorn that looked to me like, that filter where you can put human teeth on an animal, on a dog or something. The Gorn, I think it was when it was flying the ship, and there was just kind of close-up of its face, and I was like, has it got human teeth?
Yeah, and you can see its head looks like someone's arm just doing this.
But I loved it.
So that's where some of my confusion in certain aspects come in, because I really like that. I loved the Gorn inside the Gorn ship. It may not be a Strange New World, but it is a Strange New Ship. I'll give them that. But then you have La'an's character sort of just wake up and escape from the thing, and then she just sort of helps the others escape. And and tell me if I'm wrong, but like it felt a bit like we need them to escape, so she will just get out of it.
Do you know what? Yeah, like in my head canon, I'm thinking, well, she's experienced Gorn before. There's some sort of thing there, but we needed our characters to be up and moving for sure.
Yeah, sometimes I wish I was like, give me something a bit more interesting than just she escapes, and that'll be fine. And there was a few beats where I'm like, okay, they found the guns and they can do this, and Ortega's can just drive the ship that belongs to a Gorn. How does she know that's the ship? Yeah, and there was that line where she's dying on the thing, and then she says, "I'm Ortega's, I fly the ship." Where I went, is that just who you are then? Because if you are about to die, that's not the best last thing to say.
I agree, though. There were a few moments that just take you out, and it's like, I know this whole thing is a big suspension of disbelief, but some things just take you out of the moment. Like when La'an fell out of the pod thing, slipped down a hole, and I refuse to believe that she managed to not fall when she was gripping onto a flat surface covered in slime, and then managed to pull herself up, and I was like, no, you were going to fall. There's no way you pulled yourself up with that.
Yeah.
I wrote down in my notes, Christina Chong has stronger upper body strength than I do.
I mean, how do you grip on a flat surface that's covered in slime? Like, what were you pulling yourself up with?
They do that thing they always do where you'll notice when she finally pulls herself up, it's a really extreme close-up on her, so you can't see how she's actually pulling herself up, because if it was a long shot, she'd be scrambling trying to move.
There was another shot as well earlier on when they were all on the Enterprise, and Pike said, everyone hold on to something, and both Uhura and Spock, their version of hold on to something was to place flat hands on a console, and I was like, that's not gonna help. You gotta hold on to something, not just put your hands out.
I think, just a big question for me for this episode that I want to put to you guys, because I don't really know, is should someone important to the cast, should a vaguely big player have died? It's not usual for Star Trek, because I thought back to these types of episodes, these types of two-parters. It's the classic, everything is going wrong, there's no way we can save the day. Oh, we've saved the day. That's fine, that's a usual thing. But a part of me first thought, well, as you said, we know there's certain characters that are going to survive. I kind of had it in my head that Ortegas was going to die, even though I then was like, I know she doesn't. But they were sort of setting it up that someone is going to die at some point in this episode, and the impact of the Gorn is going to be felt. But that's not usual for Star Trek, so I don't know if it actually should have happened or not.
I think, have they taken a long road version of doing that with Batel?
That's what I was just about to say, because I kind of felt like Batel was the one to, because in the trailers, up until the most recent trailer, Batel wasn't in any of the trailers. Then they ruined it by putting her in the final one, and I thought, oh, you spoiled it now. She was the one character we didn't know what was going to happen to because we hadn't seen her in the trailers. But yeah, I'm kind of in the same kind of mindset of there's still time. And as I say, we've got a few characters we don't know the futures of.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to limit it to those ones as to these are the ones that aren't safe.
Exactly, because otherwise you can kill Spock again, but he's going to come back. Or
Pike does also make a lot of references to not wanting to lose her, to their like emotional connection. It's like, are they really setting this up so that then it has an impact if she does go?
I think if it's going to be any character, or if it was going to be any character, I think Batel would have been the most impactful character for it to have happened with. And I think if it had been Ortegas, there would have been uproar in the fact that we haven't had a proper Ortegas episode yet, and then they kill her off. That would have been bad.
I also wonder if they didn't do that. I wonder if that itself might have been a symptom of the 2-year gap. The show's been gone for 2 years. You bring it back, and La'an, for example, is killed in the opening credits.
Yeah.
You would have been like, what? So maybe not. Maybe that didn't play any role in it at all. But I often wonder when you get big, massive gaps like that. Whereas if it was week to week or even less than a year, I don't know, the people's energies and worries are still up. Whereas, I mean, we've talked about this as well, like, kind of in the run up to this and everything. Yes, we've been rewatching, started to sort of get that feeling back again, but you kind of can't ignore that 2 years have gone by in the real world. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what my point is I'm making here. What do we think of the episode overall? Because what do we think? Tom, throw to you. Out of 10, we're going to do this again on the pod anyway. So what's your initial reaction out of 10?
Out of 10, initial reaction, I'm going to give it a 6.8. Am I allowed to do that?
Like, it's so funny. People who are new to this, that's a decent score from Tom.
Yeah. I was going to give it a 7, but there's just a lot of moments where the tension wasn't working for me, and the plot points were just a bit like, okay, I understand. But yeah, the stuff I do like in it, the practical effects and all that kind of thing, really is pushing it towards a 7 for me.
Okay. Ellie?
Yeah. I think... See, I'm the same now. I'm like, is 6 too harsh, but is 7 too high? I'm going to go 6.5. I'm going to go in the middle.
That's why I went 6.8, baby.
Yeah, because I'm a little bit like... It wasn't a bad episode, but I also feel like because it was a part 2, I really had to remember what happened in part 1. I did appreciate the practical effects, but I really was not a fan of... Because, I mean, it was done well, but I just didn't like the Gorn moving in Batel's back. I literally was like this. I was like, don't like it. But overall, yeah, it was a solid series opener and part 2 at the same time. Also, something I need to mention before I forget it is I was really proud of myself for recognizing the what I call the shower curtain hazmat suits, the return of the shower curtain hazmat suits, because I did think, am I just being dumb when we've seen them in Strange New Worlds already and I just forgotten? But I don't think we have actually seen those. Obviously, we saw them in the original series, and I remember thinking at that point when I watched that episode, it looks like they're wearing shower curtains. And I really like that they've brought that design and kind of redesigned it a little bit, but it's very clearly still that design, and I loved seeing that.
I love it. I'm going to go with a 7 because I'm nicer than both. No, Martin Quinn is part of the reason for that. I like that we get to see a bit of Starfleet. You know, when we warp back in. Now, it's for seconds, but we actually do see an armada of ships there. And you know how I feel about that. So that really helped as well. Loved the action. I had to knock a point off straight away. So spoiler for the ups and downs. They beamed all of those colonists off that ship through their shields.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's a fairly cardinal Star Trek sin. So they're not the first ones to do it, Enterprise E and First Contact, but that was like if it had been a perfect 10, it would have been straight down to a 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought, yeah, we're back. Strange New Worlds is back. I like where we're going with this. It was more, I think they balanced action and story well. And I like the pairings they did throughout the episode. And Ellie, actually going right back to the start, you touched on this, Anson Mount was great in this episode.
Mm-hmm. It almost like he had his kind of Kobayashi Maru moment where it was like, do I save the Federation or do I save the colonists and my people? We're one ship, what do I do? And you could see that dilemma in his performance without him having to say anything. How the hell do I solve this problem right here, right now? And I think he did a really good job.
I love it. Okay, that brings us up to time on this episode. Thank you both very, very much. Everyone, I hope as I say, really hope you watched the episode in advance. Otherwise, what the hell did you watch this video for? We will be back very soon with this exact type of video again for Wedding Bell Blues. Let us know what you thought of this video. If you hated every second of it, let us know in the comments. If you loved every second of it, let us know in the comments. If you just want a cup of tea and you just kind of want to scratch your head and look out the window, let us know in the comments. You are awesome. You are wonderful. Please make sure that you are subscribing, that you are liking, you are sharing. Strange New Worlds is back, baby.
Woo!
Woo! You are wonderful, and we will see you very soon. Thanks very much.
Bye!